Picture this. You've finally saved up the miles. You've seen the glamorous TikToks of people sipping vintage Krug champagne behind a closed door at 35,000 feet. You go to book that legendary first-class seat on a flagship carrier, say United or American Airlines, for a trip across the Atlantic. But when the seat map pops up, something is wrong. The front of the plane doesn't start with row 1 anymore, or if it does, it's labeled business. You check another flight, then another. Slowly, you realize the first class you grew up seeing in movies, the pajamas, the caviar, the private chef, isn't just sold out. It's been erased. For decades, first class was the undisputed crown jewel of the skies. It was a status symbol that told the world you hadn't just arrived, you had arrived. But today, airlines are quietly, surgically, removing these cabins from their fleets. It's a multi-billion-dollar disappearing act happening right under our noses. But why? Why would an airline get rid of a seat that costs $20,000 a ticket? Is it a lack of luxury, or is there a much more calculated, cold-hearted, mathematical reason behind the death of row 1? Today, we're looking at the secret war for the real estate of the sky and why your favorite airline is probably breaking up with first class for good. To understand why it's going away, we have to understand why it existed in the first place. Back in the 70s and 80s, the gap between first class and economy was a canyon. If you flew economy, you were in a cramped seat with a mystery meat tray. If you flew first class, you were basically in a flying French restaurant. There was no middle ground. But in the late 90s and early 2000s, something shifted. Airlines like British Airways introduced something radical, the lie-flat seat in business class. Suddenly, the business traveler, the person whose company was paying for the ticket, didn't need to pay for first class to get a good night's sleep. This created a problem for airlines. If business class is good enough, who is actually buying first? Enter the space race. Airlines started making first class more and more ridiculous to justify the price gap. We're talking about Emirates putting actual showers on their A380s. We're talking about Etihad creating the Residence, a 3-room apartment in the sky with a private butler. But here's the secret. While these seats looked amazing in commercials, they were a logistical nightmare. Every time an airline puts a shower or a private wardrobe on a plane, they are losing real estate. And in the airline industry, floor space is the only currency that matters. Let's look at the cold, hard numbers. A standard first-class suite takes up the same amount of floor space as roughly 4 to 6 economy seats, but it also takes up the space of 2 modern business-class seats. If an airline charges $15,000 for a first-class seat, but it's only occupied 30% of the time, they are losing money. Meanwhile, business class is the Goldilocks zone. It's expensive enough to be highly profitable, but cheap enough, usually $3,000 to $5,000, that corporations will actually pay for it for their executives. This leads us to the biggest catalyst for the death of first class, the Qatar Airways Q Suite. When Qatar Airways launched the Q Suite, they changed the game. They put sliding doors, high-end dining, and double beds in business class. They essentially gave passengers a first-class experience for a business-class price. When your business class is that good, your first class becomes redundant. Why would a CEO pay $12,000 more just for a slightly better vintage of champagne and a slightly larger pillow? They wouldn't. Airlines like Delta followed suit with the Delta One suites. Notice the branding. They don't call it first class, they call it premium business. By removing the first class label, they make the ticket policy compliant for corporate travel departments while still charging a premium. It's a clever bit of linguistic gymnastics to fill seats. If you want to see this secret removal in action, look at the American Big Three. American Airlines recently made headlines by announcing they are completely doing away with their flagship first on international routes. They are replacing it with flagship suite seats. It's a total surrender. They realized that the first-class brand was actually scaring away corporate spenders. United Airlines did the same years ago when they retired Global First in favor of Polaris. Polaris is technically business class, but it's marketed with the intensity of first. But then, you have the outliers, Air France and Lufthansa. Lufthansa is currently spending billions on their new Allegris product. They are actually keeping first class, but they are doing something different. They are making it smaller. Instead of 8 or 12 seats, they are moving to just 3 or 4. This is the ultra-exclusivity model. They aren't trying to sell these seats to regular rich people anymore. They are targeting the 0.1%, the people who would otherwise fly private but want the range of a commercial jumbo jet. Singapore Airlines is the king of this. Their A380 suites aren't just seats, they are literal bedrooms with standalone beds and swivel chairs. But notice where they fly them. only on trophy routes like London to Singapore or Sydney. They've removed first class from almost all their smaller planes. The message is clear. If you aren't a global financial hub, you don't get a first class cabin, you get business plus. So, if first class is being eaten from the top by super business classes, what's happening to the rest of the plane? The removal of first class has created a vacuum, and airlines are filling it with premium economy. If you've flown recently, you've seen it. It's that small cabin between business and economy. For the airline, this is the most profitable real estate on the entire aircraft. Think about the math again. Business class takes up a ton of space, requires high-end catering and expensive pods. Economy, cramped, low margins, high competition. Premium economy, it's basically an economy seat from the 1990s with better legroom and a slightly better meal. It takes up very little space, but airlines can charge double or triple the price of a standard economy ticket. By removing the 8 first-class seats at the front, an airline can add 12 more business-class suites and an entire cabin of 30 premium economy seats. The total revenue potential of the plane skyrockets. First class was a vanity project. Premium economy is a cash cow. And in the 2020s, with fuel prices and labor costs rising, airlines have stopped being vain and started being very, very practical. So, is first class actually gone? Yes and no. The first class of the 20th century, the one that was just a slightly wider chair with a better steak, is dead. It has been replaced by business class. What we call business class today is actually better than what first class was 20 years ago. If you told a traveler in 1995 that they'd have a private door, a 24-inch 4K screen, and a lie-flat bed in business, they wouldn't believe you. The secret removal isn't actually a downgrade for the passenger, it's a rebranding of luxury. Airlines realize that first class sounds too expensive for a company to buy, but business class sounds like a necessary expense. We are moving toward a 2-tier world of luxury travel. 1. The business first hybrid, for the corporate traveler. 2. The ultra first suite for the billionaire, found only on a handful of routes. The next time you walk past row 1 and see a business class sign, don't feel bad for the people sitting there. They're getting the first class experience. And the airline? They're getting exactly what they wanted. More seats, more efficiency, and a lot more money. The golden age of flight isn't over, it just changed its name to business and got a better accountant. Thanks for watching. If you could have a private suite on any airline, which one would it be? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the sky.